Hello everyone, it's that college football guy here with another video. Before any of you ask, yeah, my son's doing a lot better this morning. He's actually walking around and, well, not walking around, but mulling around in bed watching TV and relaxing and actually smiling, so good signs. Alright, so as promised yesterday, again, thank you everybody for understanding about yesterday, but right now we're doing the Pac-12 video. I'll get the SEC one up. I got to work on that one and finish up the work on that one right after I get done recording this, and then I'll record that one. Then it's going to be the national championship and then the top 25. So here we go. All right. Now, Pac-12. There we go here with the lovely paper. The standings. Now remember one thing. This is North and South from last year. Last year was the last year that they were doing divisions. This year, there's no more divisions. This year on. We'll see how long the conference lasts. But anyway, Pac-12 North. I'll do this side by side again. Get this again. Okay, Oregon won the Pac-12 North, 10-4 overall, 7-2 in conference. Washington State and Oregon State. Washington State was 7-6 overall, 6-3 in conference. Oregon State 7-6 overall, 5-4 in conference. Cal was 5-7, 4-5 in conference. Washington 4-8, 3-6 in conference. Stanford 3-9, 2-7 in conference. Now in the Pac-12 South, Utah won it, going 10-4 overall, 8-1 in conference. UCLA was 8-4 overall, 6-3 in conference. Arizona State was 8-5 overall, 6-3 in conference. USC and Colorado were both 4-8 overall, 3-6 in conference, and Arizona brought up the rear, 1-11 overall, 1-8 in conference. So what's going to happen here? All right, we'll start off with Arizona. Those who watched the Mountain West video have comments on that said I had Arizona beating San Diego State. And they're going like, I mean, there's no way. Arizona sucks. Well, I think Arizona's going to be geared up for it. And now the punt god, Matt Araiza, civil suits on some serious allegations, along with a former player and an active player. I think he's a redshirt freshman this year on the team. Will that provide any distraction? Probably not. But then again, I still have, and I'm not changing it. I got Arizona in a major upset at San Diego State, beating a Power 5 school, going to a Group of 5 school, and it's on the road, and it's considered an upset. And a major one at that. All right, that's our week 1. Week 2, home back-to-back home games against Mississippi State, North Dakota State. Then they get into the conference schedule. They're at Cal, home for Colorado and Oregon, at Washington. Then they get a bye, home for USC, at Utah, and at UCLA. And then finish off at home against Washington State and Arizona State. Well, who are they going to beat? Well, I mentioned San Diego State. They're going to beat them. They're going to beat Colorado at home. Because the only reason I picked them at home because they're at home. They have to win a conference game. And they're actually going to pull off, folks, I shouldn't say pull it off. They're going to lose a little bit here. They're going to lose to Arizona State to finish the year. So they're going to finish 2-10 overall, 1-8 in conference, 2-10. Oh boy. Okay. Now, oh my goodness. Let's go to Arizona State. Let's see. They're going to first off. Their non-cons are all start off the season too. They're going to start off at home against Northern Arizona, at Oklahoma State, home for Eastern Michigan, and Utah to start conference play, at USC. Home for Washington, then they get a bye. Back-to-back road games at Stanford and Colorado. Home for UCLA. At Washington State, home for Oregon State, and at Arizona. Well, who are they going to beat? Well, they're going to beat some teams this year. Arizona State, even though with all the problems, I think they're still going to be a winning program. They're going to beat Northern Arizona. They're going to beat Eastern Michigan. They're going to beat Washington at home. They're going to win on the road at Stanford. They're going to beat UCLA at home, which will be a big win for them. They're going to beat Oregon State. And they're going to beat Arizona. They're going to be 7-5 overall, 5-4 in conference. Now we get to Cal. They start off the season with back-to-back. Their non-con start the season. Back-to-back home games against UC Davis and UNLV. And they're at Notre Dame. Start the conference schedule, home for Arizona, at Washington State. Then they get a bye. At Colorado, home for Washington and Oregon. At USC and Oregon State, both on the road. And then finish off with back-to-back home games against Stanford and UCLA. So, what do we have here? Well, they're going to, Cal's not winning that many games, folks. I mean, they're going to beat UC Davis and UNLV. They're going to beat Arizona only because they're at home. And they're going to pull off an upset somewhat and beat Washington only because they're at home. They're going to be 4-8 overall, folks. 2-7. 2-7 in conference. Try to get this paperwork working a little bit. I think I might just do something here. And see if that'll work. I'm trying to do a little paperwork work here because I'm doing paper. I'm old school. But that's me. Colorado. They start off their season with their non-cons. Home for TCU, at Air Force, and at Minnesota. Home for UCLA, and then on the road Arizona. Then they get a bye. Home for Cal, at Oregon State. Home for Arizona State and Oregon. On the road at USC in Washington, and finish off at home against Utah. Colorado's not a good team either, and they're not going to win that many games. They're going to beat TCU, and they're going to beat Air Force. They're going to lose. I shouldn't say lose. They're going to beat Cal, and they're going to beat Arizona State. The reason they're beating Cal and Arizona State, they're at home. So I'm making sure here, make sure I didn't do something silly and screw myself up and mark that down. Yeah, no, I had it right. So make sure I didn't want to double check something. This is the other game up here that's going to be coming in. About South Alabama, and I had a South Alabama on the brain moment against Maryland when we watched that video, and I put South Alabama, even though it was SMU. That was my fault and my screw up. Anyway, Colorado 4-8 overall, 2-7 in conference. Then we get to Oregon, who played in last year's conference championship game. Last year's conference championship game, everybody, Utah beat Oregon. It was one of the weirder years, and this is going to be weird too. But anyway, Oregon starts off their season in the Georgia Dome playing Georgia. Then they're home against Eastern Washington and BYU. And they start off their conference schedule, I should say. At Washington State, home for Stanford, at Arizona. Then they get a bye. Home for UCLA, back-to-back road games at Cal and Colorado. Back-to-back home games against Washington and Utah, and finish on the road at Oregon State. Traditional rivalry. Who they're going to beat? They're going to have a lot of wins this year. But they're not beating Georgia in the Georgia Dome. They're going to lose to Washington State on the road. They're going to lose to Washington State on the road. Why am I saying lose to Washington State on the road? Because that's going to be their first. The Georgia game, they're expected to lose. But I think they're coming thinking, oh, it's Washington State. We got these guys beat. It's an easy, the phone bouncing up and down, I know. It's an easy game. It's an easy game. We got these guys beat. Yeah, and they're going to overlook them. And they're going to lose to them. But speaking of overlooking, folks, the biggest overlook of them all, and this is a major upset. I'm calling Oregon State to beat Oregon in the final game of the regular season. I'm calling Oregon State to beat Oregon. I think Oregon is going to be worn down at that point. Oregon State's going to be playing. They have nothing to lose. Oregon's going to be playing for a shot at the conference championship, maybe. They're going to be going for everything, so they realize, okay, fine, we got this sewed up. We can just go in and beat Oregon State. We beat the brakes off these guys. Not this year. Not this year. So they're going to lose to Oregon State. They lose to Washington State, and they lose to Georgia. So what's going to happen? They're going to be 9-3 overall, 7-2 in conference. Oh my goodness! Now we get to the aforementioned Oregon State. They're non-con to start the season. Home for Boise State, at Fresno State, and then home for Montana State. And conference play starts. Home for USC. Back-to-back roads at Utah and Stanford. Back-to-back home games against Washington State and Colorado. Then they get their bye. Then they're at Washington, home for Cal, at Arizona State, and then home for Oregon. I already mentioned they beat Oregon in one of the biggest upsets they've had in a while. They're going to beat Boise State, they're going to beat Montana State, they're going to beat Washington State and Colorado. Why? There's 50-50 games. Colorado, they're going to beat. Washington State's going to be a tough game. I was leaning toward maybe Washington State, but because Oregon State's at home, they're going to beat them. And they're going to beat Oregon. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I forgot something else. They're also going to beat Cal at home. Because Cal's not that good either. They're going to be 6-6 overall, 4-5 in conference. Now we get to Stanford. They start off their season at home against Colgate. Yeah, easy dub. Then they're going to play home against USC. Then they get a bye. Week 3, you get a bye. Oh boy, this is going to be bad. They're going to have at Washington and at Oregon, home for Oregon State, at Notre Dame, home for Arizona State, at UCLA, home for Washington State, at Utah and Cal, and finish off at home against BYU. So who's Stanford going to beat? Well, they're going to beat Colgate. They'll beat Oregon State because they're at home. They're going to beat Washington State because they're at home. They're going to beat Cal because Cal's bad, and I already called them beating BYU. But that's going to be 5-7 overall, folks. 3-6 in conference. Now we get to UCLA. What's their non-con schedule? Here's the joke games. Home games, non-cons, Bowling Green, Alabama State, and South Alabama. Yes, I actually looked this time. Yes, I had a little help with the schedules that were done for me, and had a little help. So blew through them. I apparently said South. I think that's South Alabama, but I didn't double check it, and that's my fault for the Maryland game. But anyway, this actually is South Alabama at home. Conference play starts at Colorado, home for Washington and Utah. Then they get a bye. At Oregon, home for Stanford. At Arizona State, then home for Arizona. Home for USC, and finish off at Cal. So who are they going to beat? Well, they're going to beat their non-cons, Bowling Green, Alabama State, and South Alabama. They're going to beat Colorado. They're going to beat Stanford. They're going to beat Arizona. They're going to beat USC. Only because they're at home. And USC is going to be looking ahead. That's why USC is going to lose, because they're going to kind of overlook their little brother. Dumb. They're going to lose that game. And then UCLA is going to beat Cal. So they're going to finish off 8-4 overall, 5-4 in conference. Now we get to the aforementioned USC. We got non-con against Rice, then at Stanford, home for Fresno State, at Oregon State, home for Arizona State and Washington State, at Utah, then they get a bye, at Arizona, home for Cal and Colorado, at UCLA, and finish off at home against Notre Dame, the game they were looking ahead to. So they're going to beat Rice. Actually, hold on. Shorter list here, folks. Just do the losses for USC. They're going to be a good team this year. But they're going to lose to Utah on the road. Utah, for some reason, lately has had their number. I think they're going to do it again. And the aforementioned loss to UCLA. I think they're going to beat Notre Dame at home because they have just way too much firepower. But that puts them 10-2 overall, 7-2 in conference. Now we get to Utah. What's their schedule? Well, their non-cons are at Florida to start the year. Yikes. Home for Southern Utah and San Diego State. At Arizona State. Home for Oregon State. At UCLA. Home for USC. Then they get a bye. Then they're at Washington State. Home for Arizona and Stanford. Then back-to-back road games at Oregon and at Colorado. So who are they going to beat? Well, Utah's going to beat a lot of teams, but they're going to lose to Florida. They're going to lose on the road to Washington State. It's just, for some reason, it's been a house of horrors for Utah, it seems. And they're going to lose to Oregon. So they're going to be 9-3 overall, 7-2 in conference. So let's get to Washington State, the last team on the list here in the conference in the Pac-12. We're talking, they have their non-con start their season with home at Idaho, at Wisconsin, home for Colorado State, and they start off the conference schedule. At Oregon, home for Cal, at USC and Oregon State, both of those on the road. Then they get a bye. Then they're home for Utah, at Stanford, home for Arizona State, at Arizona, and finish off at home against Washington. Well, Washington State, they're going to win they're going to beat Idaho, and they're going to beat Colorado State. They're not losing. They're losing to Wisconsin. They're going to beat Cal. They're going to beat Utah because it's at home. They gave them the 50-50 win at home. They're going to beat Arizona State. They're going to beat Arizona, and they're going to beat Washington in the rivalry game. So they're going to be 7-5 overall, 5-4 in conference. So let's look at the standings from the bottom up. Arizona, 2-10 overall, 1-8 in conference. Let's go to Cal and Colorado. Both for 4-8 overall, 2-7 in conference, but Colorado beat Cal, so that's why they're ahead of them. Then Stanford, 5-7 overall, 3-6 in conference. Oregon State, 6-6 overall, bowl team this year, 4-5 in conference. 4 schools. This is crazy. I'm going to do a little walking here because I got my notes across the way here. Making sure I'm right because I do not want to screw this up. I know the lights in the background. It absolutely sucks. But yeah. All right. 4 schools who went 5-4 in conference. Schools are Washington State, Arizona State, Arizona State, UCLA, and Washington. Well, what happened here? Well, they're being ranked in that order. Washington State, Arizona State, UCLA, and Washington. Why? Well, first off, Washington lost. Washington lost to Arizona State and Washington State. And so that puts Washington at the bottom of those 4 schools. UCLA got beat by Arizona State. So that puts them below Arizona State. But Washington State beat Arizona State. So that's how the ranking are: Washington State, Arizona State, UCLA, and Washington. Now we've got 3 schools, if you paid attention, 3 schools are tied at 7-2 in conference, but only 2 can play for the conference championship. You have Oregon 9-3 overall, 7-2 in conference. Utah 9-3 overall, 7-2 in conference. USC 10-2 overall, 7-2 in conference. USC did not play Oregon this year. And the tie breaks are the head-to-head, and the fact is I go by tie breaks. I don't go by points because I can't predict points. So you only play one of these 2 schools, USC, and you lost to Utah. But Oregon beat Utah. So with the 10 wins USC, you get to watch the conference championship game from your couch. Yes, I'm calling Oregon-Utah rematch for the conference championship game. And as it was last year, because Utah is not going to have the new coaching staff, the new problems, or anything else, all the other issues, coming off a loss to Oregon State, Utah is going to come in hot. Utah is going to beat Oregon again and repeat as conference champions. Yeah, I called Utah beating Oregon and USC with their wins because they lost the head-to-head. If it comes down to points for the tiebreak, I do mine on head-to-head because I can't estimate points. I can't predict what these teams are going to score. But I'm going off head-to-head. If it goes by points, then SC is going to be in the title game because they're going to score a lot of points, folks. But that's my prediction. Utah beating Oregon based on head-to-head for the conference championship. Tell me what you think. What I get right, what I get wrong. But if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. Comment down below, like I said, what I get right, what I got wrong. If you like the video and check out some of the other videos, let's subscribe to the channel. See if we can get this channel to grow and make it better. Hopefully we can. As always, everyone, please be good to each other.